Hi, I'm Marcel, and welcome to me screaming into the void mostly about books. Before I was doing vlogs, I had a blog where I was writing book reviews based on books I had read, and that's where my channel got its name, Lesser Known Gems, because I wanted to talk about lesser known classical books. And I am now revisiting these, reading my old review and seeing if I have something more to add. This is Memoir of a Basque Lieutenant Nun Transvestite in the New World by Catelina de Erauso. This book, this absolutely glorious book, was written by Catelina de Erauso. She was a part of the Basque nobility, and she didn't want to get married. So she dressed up as a man and ran away to the Spanish colonies, where she was fighting and working as a male soldier until she was discovered and brought back to Spain and tried for being, a transvestite. Now, the transvestite is the word that they are going to use. We have no idea about Catelina de Erauso's identity, gender identity. What we know sort of is her actions about her dressing as a man in a time where that was punishable. So this is her confession, in a sense. To save her life, she had to write a confession where she confessed her sin of dressing up as a man and traveling to colonies to fight. And she has such a wonderful wit about her. But that is the backdrop, and I'm now going to read my original review of the book. When Catelina de Erauso was 2 years old, she was placed in the convent of the Dominican nuns, according to the tradition among Basque nobles. Young girls would be trained in the convent until they either were to be married or entered into holy order. Catelina would have none of that. When she was 15 years old, she stole away, dressed herself as a boy, and through different means travelled to the New World. The book is a memoir she wrote coming back to Spain after having to choose between getting killed or confessing to her sins. She had by this time lived 20 years in the New World dressed as a man. Reading this book, I felt like I was hearing a grandfather telling a story about everything he experienced in his travels in South America, knowing only 1/3 could be true, but having no idea which third. It seems too wonderful. The lieutenant nun has become a cult figure in Spain, similarly to Joan of Arc. There are also a lot of different ways to interpret the book. First and foremost, it's interesting in regard to gender identity. The translators point out that a lot is lost in translation. In Spanish, words are gendered. The words change depending on the gender of the person. In a way, English doesn't. Literature around this book refers Catelina as a transvestite. That means as a woman dressing up as a man. This isn't uncommon, and considering Catelina's personality as someone craving excitement, dressing as a man would be the only way she could get this. There is also very little talk about feelings. Catelina describes what she does, and emotions and motivations are rarely stated. I'm just going to go with a quote from the book. But at the end of that time, with no more reason than that it suited me, I quit the comfort of this situation and returned to my hometown. Which is how she explains why she travels back to Spain. If she is having an identity crisis about feelings she was born in the wrong body, this isn't present in the text. On the other hand, in the Spanish edition, she is constantly referring to herself as he, with a few exceptions. The fact that she is a woman dressed as a man is also not brought up much. She talks a bit about hiding from family members. It doesn't even come up when she mentions the woman that tried to marry her. She refuses all of them, sometimes almost sacrificing her life, but she never talks about how she did this because she's a woman, though she might have thought this was implied and understood by the reader. I keep wanting to refer to Catelina as he. Personally, the text even reads as something written by a man. Yet this might be my own prejudice, and as Marjorie Garber, who wrote one of the introductions, point out, what I want to emphasize here is that such overdetermination is part of the pleasure of reading as well as part of its danger. All reading is partly in two senses, not impartial and not whole. Trying to put Catelina into the transgender category might be just as unjust to her as seeing her as a woman, only wanting freedom from the patriarchy. A part of the fascination with Lieutenant Nun is how she transcends these categories and boxes. What Catelina talks about is fighting. It's clear she has a quick temper and incredibly pride. When she is being tortured, she writes, "They gave the screws a turn and held fast, steady as an oak." And later when she writes, "I'd only been there a few days when I got myself into another serious mess. Undeserved, to tell the truth, because this time around I was entirely blameless. Whatever you may have heard." She also has a surprising witty sense of humour, which took me off guard between all the killing and fighting. This book tested my prejudice. If you write without emotions, I read you as a man. If you talk a lot about killing people, you can't have a sense of humour. I came before His Majesty and told him the sorry tale of my travels. He listened and then asked, "Well, how is it you allowed yourself to be robbed?" "Signor," I responded, "I had no choice in the matter." Even without the transgender transvestite, the story is a compelling one, even if I feel I should take it with a grain of salt. So, I clearly like the book, and I think partly I wanted to talk about this book because this book should be more known. It's such an hysterically funny book, rereading this. Because, this is, it so reads like a grandfather that is telling a story, and you have no idea which third of it is true, because all of it seems incredible. But some of it is true. It has to be, because otherwise he wouldn't be telling the story. And there is so much wit and so much humor in the way that she is writing the story. So I don't really have much to add to my already existing review, except the fact that if you are interested in reading queer literature, this should be on everyone's list, even if you don't like it. So, have you read this? Have I convinced you to read this? Leave the comments down below, and thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.